A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So, what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
Welcome back to the B2B Growth Show. This episode is sponsored by Directive Consulting, the B2B search marketing agency. Today, we are joined by Chris Carter. He is the CEO of Approyo. He's also recently been featured in Entrepreneur Magazine. We're thrilled to have him here. Chris, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jonathan. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Today, we are actually going to be talking about this idea of switching to the cloud. And I know this is an area that you're very familiar with, you're very passionate about. So I'm excited to get into it. But before we do, maybe you can tell us a little about what you and the Approyo team are up to these days.
Absolutely. So Approyo has been providing services to the SAP Ecosystem. So there's an application, a software application, which is the largest ERP software in the world called SAP out of Germany. And it is helping companies around the globe to be able to take all of the things that they need from their finance, their HR, their manufacturing, warehouse, so on, and put it into one nice, neat application. And what we do is manage, host, and support, upgrade that solution so organizations don't have to go out and rehire new people for their IT team or staff up infrastructure or staff up an internal team. We take on all that responsibility for them and make their life a lot easier.
Well, that certainly sounds like a great situation to be in. Chris, today we're going to be talking again about switching to the cloud. And I know there's been, one of the things that we had talked about a little bit offline is this sort of the evolution of the questions that business owners have been asking themselves, as it relates to the cloud. So, you're the expert here. Why don't you sort of take it away? Where are we starting today?
Yeah, so the cloud should be a question of not why should I go to the cloud? It's why aren't I in the cloud nowadays? Literally everybody that we talk to, and when you look at the pundits and the folks like, I've got Jim Cramer on my TV here this morning in my office talking about clouded this and clouded that. It really is that question, why aren't I there? And what can I offload into the cloud and save my business from a cost perspective to be able to grow faster and to help make my life easier in the cloud.
Mm-hmm. But there's still, so I would say the cloud has been sort of demystified. So people are, like you said, are just, not should I be, but like basically, how are we utilizing the cloud? I know one of the things that we had talked about was that the cloud is going to basically be the default option for most businesses by 2020. Yeah. So, I'm curious, Chris, then what are some of the questions that business owners should be asking themselves as they continue to sort of familiarize themselves with this technology?
So let's break it down into two groups. Let's break it down into the smaller businesses, and then let's break it down into the larger organizations, a Johnson & Johnson of the world, or a U.S. Bank, or a Citibank, or some of those large. So if you start with the small business, the things that I want to do is if I'm either a startup or a smaller organization, a brick and mortar, or somebody who's going to be based solely on the cloud, is I want to see what's going to be the apparatus that's going to help me to grow my business. So from a small business perspective, things like Sugar CRM or Salesforce.com or QuickBooks Online, those types of things, Gmail, the Google suite of ERP products, especially now that they've come down on their prices. How can I use those at a very low cost point to help me make my business grow? And the nice thing with all of those that I referenced is they will help you grow in time. As you're growing, they'll grow with you. And the cost structure just means adding an additional user to your account. It's not a full upload and a massive increase once you grow. And then you look at these larger organizations that are out there, and they need to look at it from a different perspective. They need to look at it as I've got hundreds of employees, maybe even thousands, tens of thousands. What can I do from an organizational structure that'll help my staff to alleviate some of the cost, to bring those cost structures down while I increase my revenues, and then to be able to help them to help my external customers. Because in a larger company, you've got internal customers and external customers, depending upon how you've set up your business. And they're always looking for that. If they can find 1% of cost savings, that's tens of millions of dollars to a J&J or a Caterpillar or some of these other organizations. Where a mom and pop or a small business, they're probably dealing hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars, and 1% is not going to. It's still a kick there, but it's not going to be as much as the ERP or the bigger companies that we talked about. So you kind of have two paths, but both of them, thank God, get to work with cloud-based solutions that are going to do what they need in regards to each one of the directions that they wish to go.
Today's growth story is about one of the world's largest cloud cybersecurity firms. Their challenge? To build and execute a global demand generation strategy. Fortunately, this firm tackled their challenge by joining forces with a marketing partner that delivered a dynamic display campaign that was aligned to the sales and marketing efforts of target accounts. The results? The cybersecurity firm saw a 120% increase in their global display click-through rate. And here's the big one. They generated $39 in their pipeline for every $1 spent on predictive display. So what kind of partner can deliver these results? MRP Prolytics. MRP Prolytics is an insights-powered account-based marketing platform with streaming predictive analytics baked into its core. Integrating multi-channel ABM execution on these insights, MRP Prolytics triggers display, email, direct mail, and global inside sales in real time, helping the largest marketing departments in the world deliver the right message to their customers at just the right time. Can MRP Prolytics get similar results for you? Probably. Find out by visiting mrpfd.com or click the link in the episode description of this interview. All right, let's get back to the show.
Now, and when it comes to choosing some of these cloud-based solutions, I mean, do you have any pieces of advice that you can give our listeners when they're trying to decide, how do I get involved? Which tools do I use? How much of this needs to be in the cloud, and honestly, how much of this doesn't need to be in the cloud?
Oh, absolutely. From starting 3 different companies and being a startup firm and going to millions of dollars in revenues, I've seen the best and the worst of some of these applications. My first one to every startup company that I deal with is get on Google Mail. Get a Google business account and get your Google Docs, your Excels, and nothing against Microsoft when it comes to the Office suite. But when you want to have your mail and everything put together in one nice, neat, clean package, and you can reach it from anywhere in the world for a very inexpensive rate, start there. Second, make sure that when you register that Google site, you register your website so you can build a very clean, concise website. And I recommend using Wix, wix.com. Very inexpensive, but has some great tools for you to build a very comprehensive website, because everybody goes to the web. Nobody goes to the phone book anymore and says, let's see where we can go. No, you're going to Google. You're going to google.com. You're going to put in what you're looking for. And that website is your face to the world. And we want to make sure that it looks good. And then last but not least, when you're starting from a financials, HRs, and types of perspective like that, we still use QuickBooks Online. But what we've done with that, because they base it on a user count and a month or a yearly fee, it's very inexpensive. We can literally do all of our business transactions out of there, from estimates all the way to our invoicing and our receivables. But we can also add a POE to that, which takes care of our employee taxes, our state taxes, federal taxes, our insurance. Everything is done in one nice, neat, clean package. So it's all together. And I never have to worry outside of the initial setup of taking care of anything in there, unless we add a new employee or delete an employee or someone moves on. But it's all cloud-based. And then a great thing, and I made reference to this in Entrepreneur Magazine with Jason a couple of months ago, was the fact that by being able to put everything into the cloud, you can literally do your work from anywhere on this planet. And that was one of the reasons that we moved everything there, is because I had a daughter with epilepsy and I was sitting in a hospital room a lot with her. And to be able to do everything there rather than being in my office just gave me such a huge advantage. I could take care of her. I could make sure that all of my staff was taken care of. I could make sure my clients were taken care of, and everything was through our cloud-based platforms.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely incredible, the flexibility that obviously afforded you. And Chris, you're very passionate about this subject, and so obviously, we appreciate you sort of sharing your wisdom. You had mentioned your family just now briefly in the interview. We talked a very little bit before we started recording, and I think it kind of relates to this last question because we've gotten some tremendous answers. But I am curious, Chris, sort of what sort of legacy are you hoping to leave behind, whether it's a personal, professional, or even a combination of the two?
So it's funny, you and I we were chit-chatting about this earlier, and I have a kind of a two-pronged legacy. If I still am running this company and providing the services and the excellence that we believe that we do to our customers, I want to be able to leave a company behind that when my customers come to my funeral and they look down and they talk to my wife and they talk to my children, that they say, we really appreciated the work that Chris did and the communication that we had and the conscious integrity that he had for us as a customer. And then to be able to, if I've sold the company or if it's gone to the next phase, which is maybe somebody else is running it, and I want to be able to leave a legacy for my children and my wife, where we've actually talked that we want to be able to take the proceeds if we do a sale and to be able to have a nonprofit where we can provide scholarships to underprivileged youth throughout the world and to be able to let them go to college. We want to be able to, with my daughter being in epilepsy, she's keen on having children who have epilepsy be able to go to college because it's very difficult. You got to be careful of your seizures. You got to be on meds. You got to be certain workouts, certain food activities, and there's always that in the back of their mind. But to be able to help them and let them understand that there's somebody there that knows that. And to be able to do that not only for children with epilepsy, but with other circumstances, and to offer that assistance and help them to get to the next phase of their life. And maybe they'll be in IT and maybe they won't, but at least they'll be able to grow into their evolution of what they want to be and where they want to see themselves and help them get there. So I hope that my legacies can come to fruition someday.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that truly would be a powerful, fantastic legacy. And I know that you and the Approyo team are doing fantastic things. You've seen a lot of growth, so I certainly hope that you are well on your way. We wish you all the best of luck. Again, we have been talking with Chris Carter. Chris, if any of our listeners are interested in following up with you after today's interview, they want to find out more about today's topic, they want to find out more about Approyo, they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Certainly, the best way to contact anybody within our team is first go out to the Approyo website, approyo.com. And then my personal email, feel free to hit me up personally. It's just add cc@approyo.com. And I'm more than happy to have a conversation and just even chit-chat about business and life. I'm more than happy to.
Well, we certainly appreciate that, and we appreciate you being here on the show. Chris, thank you so much again for your time today.
Well, I thank you very much, Jonathan. Have a great day.
There are lots of ways to build a community, and we've chosen to build the B2B growth community through this podcast. But because of the way podcasts work, it's really hard to engage with our listeners. And without engagement, it's tough to build a great community. So here's what we've decided to do. We're organizing small dinners across the country with our listeners and guests. No sales pitches, no agenda, just great conversations with like-minded people. We'll talk business, we'll talk family, we'll talk goals and dreams. We'll build friendships. So if you'd like to be a part of a B2B growth dinner in a city near you, go to b2bgrowthdinners.com. That's b2bgrowthdinners.com. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time.